Similar question, and this is one we're asking everyone on this series of the podcast, and it's probably a bit broader because we're looking across HR now. What do you think HR leaders really need to be thinking about in the next 12 to 24 months? And in relation to that, what would be your biggest concern and what do you see as the biggest opportunity?
So my biggest concern is, a decline in resources and intention around DEI in the looming economic times. In 2020, at the beginning of 2020, we saw a 40% decrease in diversity management roles just at the beginning of 2020 because of, the uncertain economy at that time. Now, we had the racial reckoning later that year, so we saw that turn completely around. DEI roles tripled by the end of 2020, but we should not have to have a racial reckoning or any other type of social justice reckoning in order for us to know how important these roles are. And not just the roles themselves, but giving the adequate resources to them, giving more to the people analytics team, maybe having someone in charge of, diversity on the people analytics team, right? And so those are the things that I'm most concerned about because, from my clients, I'm seeing, the budgets are shrinking and leaders are worried about, what seemingly are larger problems, especially when you see all in the news about layoffs in industries like tech. Like, all of those are real things. And so while those real things are happening, we still have to make sure we're finding ways, and maybe it's not monetary resources, but there's still other resources such as time and other ways that we can show that we're committed. Even if we're not recruiting, this year, that's okay. There are other ways we can make sure that we're connecting with the inclusion of and the belonging of the employees that are still on our teams. I would say the biggest opportunity for HR leaders in general, is that the question? The biggest opportunity for HR leaders in general, I still think it's connecting data to their DEI journey. And not the macro level data that you'll get in a really interesting McKinsey report or Gallup report. Those are great. And I think you use those as examples for how you bring it down to your organization. But I would love it if every HR leader could tell me the ROI, when they've hired a new class and based on their diversity metrics. I would love it if every business line leader could tell me, how their business has been impacted by having more diversity and having more inclusion in terms of their culture, right? Finding ways to connect the people analytics data to those bottom lines. I would love to see that in every organization. So I think that's the biggest opportunity. And I suppose back to your model, if you can do that, if companies can, deliver or realize that opportunity, then that will drive them to be more sustainable as well. Because when you connect it to business results, that's when you get senior level attention and real buy-in. Absolutely. And that's where you get the commitment even in times of economic challenge, because we know that it's not just a nice to have, it's not just to make people feel good. That's part of it, certainly. But when we think about this is critical for our business success, that it doesn't become the first order of business on the chopping block when we're thinking about how to, cut resources. Maybe we do have to cut resources, but we don't necessarily have to make that deprioritized just because maybe our resources may not be the same as they were in 2020.
In this series, we will be speaking to a range of senior leaders who are pushing a data-driven and digital HR agenda. Make sure that you subscribe via your podcast app of choice and also via our YouTube channel for free and regular interviews with the digital HR leaders of the future.